Well, hello and welcome to our continued look back at 2020. And we're joined by three men that have plenty to celebrate, and one or two, I'm afraid, well, things not quite to celebrate also in 2020. An up and down year certainly for Simon Taylor, Michael Moloney also. But Shane, you had a good year. You had a lot of winners, more than one classic winner. That was the key to success. And all in all, your best trackers got to the end of their career safe and sound. That's the main thing. The same can't be said for you, Simon. Of course, you had Newinn Taylor, who won the Derby. Unfortunately, we lost his services at the Winter Racing Festival. What a year he provided you. And Michael, your great old campaigner Wolf was an absolute star. Him winning the Easter Cup, well, really did warm the heart. He certainly deserved the big one, and he certainly gained it. And had to work the hard way.
He did. He missed his break on the night, which obviously wasn't ideal. I think it was 4 charger traps, so everyone kind of broke, kind of funny. I think Merce bombed out in front, and it was nice to see him get the inside early. Once he has the inside, he always has a chance. He was going into the bend second, and anything can happen, because he really drives the bend. So sometimes that can be a hindrance, if you're behind. But he showed unreal determination going into the third bend. You think it was make or break at that stage. He was diving for the front, and the third bend was just approaching. But luckily he just kind of got there, and he just hit the front. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't even worried about Ballymacanton until saw him just on his shoulder off the last bend. So I got a bit of a fright there, but luckily he cut off the bend, and that was enough. And it was great to see him win. It's like a huge thing for us. We're so long trying to win a classic, and we've been to many finals before in the last few years and been favourites for some and not for others. So to just finally do it was special.
I was going to say, outside of Wolf, you had of course Sonic, who got to a couple of Derby finals. You had brilliant greyhounds like that, but even Wolf himself had been so unlucky on the big stage on a couple of occasions, mainly due to the man here on the chat with us. Shane Dowling had denied you, Anton in particular had denied you in the Ledger final. But no, Wolf, he thoroughly deserved a big one. I suppose to get over the line was great, but unfortunately he was the first of the big races in lockdown, so it was a very surreal experience for everyone.
It was strange. We were there for the semi-final, and he won that night. I think, he won. And we were the worry during the week was, will it go ahead? We were very worried. It seemed like it might be called off, or there was no plans in place for behind closed doors or anything like that. And I'm sure it was a Wednesday or Thursday. The announcement was made that it was behind closed doors, and I rang my father, Pat, and I said, we've bad news about the weekend, and he thought the race was called off, and I just said, it was just behind closed doors. We can't go up. We didn't mind too much. We were just relieved that it went ahead. Because if it didn't, we'd always be left wanting. Wondering what would have happened. Would you have won or not? But it was strange watching it on the screen on TV. We've been to so many finals before, and we've been there, and we've been beaten in a lot of them. It would have been nice to be at the track for the one that we won. But as I say, it didn't make a difference. We just won it, and that was the main thing. We were happy to take it.
Yeah, of course, he wasn't finished for the year. He did have an extended layoff, obviously due to lockdown. And when he came back, it took a while for him to find his feet. He went out of the Irish Derby pretty early. He had obviously very, very badly needed the run in that. But with each race, he gradually got better and better. And it all culminated in I was going to say a successful English Derby challenge. It was successful by the point of view that you got to the final and he achieved great things in the competition. But unfortunately, his career ended in the final. Not too serious an injury, but it was the end of his racing career. At that stage, it was an easy decision to make, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was frustrating during lockdown, because he was at his peak after the Easter Cup, and he had to wait till June to come back, and his first trial back, then he got injured. I think people were talking about it because it was 20 seconds or something he done for the sprint in Shelburne. So everyone was kind of what's going on here? But there was an issue, and he was rushed kind of back we had to go for the Irish Derby. We had to go that was the main goal all along. So he wasn't fully ready for Derby. He was probably a month behind in preparations. He got a couple of trials into him, all right, but he was still a long ways back from what he was. He ran very well in the Derby. He led both nights, I think, but he was picked up because the fitness wasn't there, and he went out in I think he got a very tough heat in I think Newinn Taylor won that heat. I think he was in against them, but going out at that stage, was a help for the English Derby, because I think the experience of the year before, even the year before, nothing, it worked out a disaster at the time. He was obviously, it's always talked about on the when I watch the previews of all the English derbies, of the English derby rounds, people always mention it. But yeah, it was just one of those things. He saw something, or he lost sight of the hare, and he stopped. And but I think it was beneficial to go over there, because for the next year, a lot of the Irish dogs, they kind of ran off the bend a little bit. They just took their time, to get used to it. Whereas he didn't really. He that worked on the year before, and he ran the bends great. And he was just, throughout the English Derby, he just, he really put himself back on the map at the end of his career. He just some of his performances, he overcame everything really. He had good draws and bad draws, and there was some awful nights. Like the track some nights was just covered in water. It was in decent condition, but the rain some nights over there was crazy, and he just didn't seem to bother him at all. Like, it was a shame, obviously, to end the Derby the way he did. We quietly fancied him, but we always kind of fancy him, because he's your own dog, you're always kind of biased, like, and you always think it's going to kind of that he might do it. Even though the draw wasn't great in Trap 4, but the draws didn't seem to hinder him at the, throughout the Derby, so we thought he might get there, but he just kind of collided with Ballaryle fella early on, and that was kind of it. And he I wouldn't say it was a small injury either he got. He tore the ligaments in the back of his hock. It looked at the time that he'd be fine and he wouldn't have to go for surgery, but as time went along, you kind of saw him walking, and the leg was kind of bending, and his hock was kind of getting closer and closer to the ground. So eventually he was operated on, and he's doing very well. I think he was up there at the same time as Newinn Taylor was up at Shane Dowling. But he's doing very well. He's gone up every week and he's being checked, and he should come back 100%, hopefully, anyway.
Serve a few bitches and hopefully throw you another champion or two.
Hopefully, yeah. We got Sonic and we got Wolf, so like we're not expecting anything to come the next year or two. It's asking too much. When you're breeding them yourselves, it's very hard to find a dog like that. We were years trying to get them, and we got two. We had three really. Gary Bobby was that was a very good dog in his own right. He won the Arc in England during the time when I think the tracks were closed in Ireland, so he was a good dog as well. But it's just so hard to get them dogs, and then when you get them to try and keep them right, keep them, they have to. Being fast is only one of the things. You must be a good breaker, you must be a good kenneler, you must, and it's just hard to get it all together. And so we're still trying to find the next one, but I don't know. We'll have to.
For the meantime, you'll have to settle for the great memories of that Easter Cup triumph for Wolf. A victory he so richly deserves. Stay with us, Michael. We'll be back to you in a little while.
Sure.
Speaking of Wolf, who was bred and reared and whatnot down the Moloney's, another man that's doing that is Liam Dowling, and we're joined by Shane Dowling, his son. Shane, you had a great year. By all accounts, it could have been an even better year. You went very close later in the year, but you did have some big race successes. Of course, you started with the likes of the Juvenile Classic. You won the Gold Cup with Anton, the Juvenile Classic with Ballymac Wild. Of course, Ballymac Wild went close himself in the Champion Stakes. He went close in the Derby, went close in the Ledger. Ballymac Kingdom won the Corn Cuchulainn, and the end of the year, I suppose he also started the year 2021 with the brilliant success in the Shelburne 600, and of course, your warrior Anton performed at the very highest level throughout the year, and you end the year with some sensational puppies to look forward to for next year. So all in all, a very successful year. Could have been better, but by God, it could have been far worse.
Yeah, look, Ian, we're delighted. We were thereabouts in a lot of the competitions. Probably, you would obviously have liked to strike gold in a few more, but look, we're not greedy, and we were delighted to win what we did. And like you said, as long as all the dogs came off sound and we were able to go to war and Anton retired fit and healthy and all that, look, it was good. So we're looking forward to the year ahead again.
Yeah, we'll go through the various events very quickly. Ballymac Anton and the Gold Cup. It seems like a lifetime ago now. It's only just under a year, of course. When you look back at that final, it was one of the great finals. Like, if you look at the standard of the dog in that final, it would have been fitting of any Derby final itself.
It was, sometimes I kind of had forgotten what was in it until afterwards. I suppose Pastana really kind of came to the fore after that, but he was still in it as well as his companion Maliki, who promised to be an absolute right dog as well. Grange drew 10. Wolf, was it?
Run Happy, should I say? And of course, your own Ballymac in Speed.
Yeah, it was a cracking final. Look, and it was brilliant for him to win it. Look, he was a great dog. You got everything he had every time, and look, he was brilliant. And he went out in a high. Look, he was sound, and everything is going great. And he's, by all accounts, he's busy in Michael Dunn's, so it's all good.
Yeah, Ballymacant, and of course he went on to reach Laurel's Decider and ran so well through the likes of the Ledger. He just was an incredible greyhound for you. Ballymac Kingdom was a dog that you obviously, I've said it a few times in a few places that anytime you're naming a dog Kingdom, you think the world of him. At the start, I dare say this fellow was, you thought probably going to be your Derby contender, your Derby greyhound. After 5 or 6 races, you probably felt to yourself, I don't know if this lad has a trip. And all of a sudden, things clicked into place. Confidence was the issue. He had taken a few bad tumbles.
Yeah, you're probably right in what you're saying. We definitely thought he was our Derby dog after the couple of races in Enniscorthy, but his third race in, he got turned upside down. He actually sliced around his dew claw and it had to be removed. As well as damaging one of his stopper bones. Not a bad injury, but it was just something that needed an awful lot of time. And then when he was coming back, I think he was in Shelburne, and we were a bit disappointed with him. It subsequently damaged his other stopper bone. Again, not bad stopper bone injuries, but they just slowed him down. And like you said, confidence probably wasn't there, and he was probably running. He had that ailment in it. I'd say it might have been in his head for a little bit until it was completely healed. And I suppose the last 6 months of the year, from the Cuchulainn on, I think it really healed up, and he's just coming on and on the whole time. Look, probably for the 550 might probably be just short a yard for the Derby trip, but 575, 600, he's a real contender for this year, and maybe a little bit further, hopefully.
Yeah, maybe a little bit further. Talking about the Cuchulainn winner, he is a dog. His trapping has certainly improved. He perhaps won't stay as well if he is going to the corner that bit faster.
Sure. Look, it's hard to know. Hopefully he will. But yeah, I suppose you can't burn the candle at both ends. But I wouldn't mind if he was showing it early and just hanging on at the end. But it's hard to know what he's going to be like. But I think he should be thereabouts in a lot of the 4 bins and hopefully the 6 bin competitions this year.
Yeah, how did the discussion go about the Cuchulainn? Was it a case of like, we have nothing to lose here with this lad, or what was there a debate in the house?
Not really. I think actually we walked down the yard one day, and the following day maybe, that he had ran and he just wasn't getting to the corner, and he was kind of finding trouble and flying home. And the two of us saw the Cuchulainn. We just said, look, what about the Cuchulainn? He said, yeah, absolutely. So we just put him into it, and the rest is history. So he took off. We didn't exactly know he'd stay, but we had a fair idea that he was going to be thereabouts towards the end of the trip, and he'd be maybe treading water, but he stayed quite well.
Yeah, he certainly did. He had a great year. Like, when you consider he won Derby Final out over 6 bends, he won over the 600-yard trip, picking up Simon. Of course, he picked up Newinn Session at the Winter Racing Festival. Sorry about that, Simon. And then, of course, won the 600. Only in recent weeks. It was a hell of a year when you consider, he had won nothing by June.
Yeah, and I suppose he was probably a tad unlucky in the semi-final of the Ledger. Look, again, you can't be greedy and all that stuff, but he ran a cracking race in the consolation night as well. He won the consolation Ledger as well, so he did have a fantastic year. And the one thing about it is it absolutely knocks nothing out of the dog. We actually made a couple of bitches to him, because I'd say if the injuries didn't go against him, who knows what he could have been. But he's a litter on the ground to Ballymac Sarah Joe, and we made them to Arnagini as well. So they could be future staying stars, hopefully.
Yeah, Arnagini, there's certainly a bit of stamina in that one. Ballymac Wild, of course, he started off the year in tremendous fashion, winning the Juvenile. It was clear in the Juvenile he was only coming to hand. He was far from the finished article, but he produced a big run on final night. But he was a dog that improved throughout the year. His run through the Derby got better and better and better, culminating to a sense where he nearly got around that corner in Derby Final, and then he was the star of the Ledger, only to completely mistime the start in the final. But he's a greyhound you're looking forward to going to war with next year, I'm sure.
Yeah, look, he was being a fantastic dog for us all year. Everything we asked of him, we probably asked him a little bit much in the end, but he just took his racing so well. We said we'd keep going with him. He was an unlucky dog. Look, he won his Juvenile Classic in Tralee, and no one can take that away from him. He probably was unlucky in the Derby, but you can't dwell on these things. And again, split seconds in the Ledger, he just charged the traps. Unlike him, to be honest, but he did. And I suppose a few races after that, then he's probably still doing the same thing. But look, he's a dog there. He's fit, he's sound, he's healthy. A bit of luck, and he should be thereabouts again all year.
Yeah, indeed. Just looking back at that Juvenile Classic, it was a hell of a competition, and always is.
Always easy, and to be honest about it, the last 6-7 years has just been, you could just sit down, and even the dogs that were knocked out in the first couple of rounds, you say that yourself there now and again, dogs that do get knocked out, but even dogs that make the final, and I suppose that it's a real teller every year, the dogs that are in it, and I suppose it's more popular every year because everyone likes to be in it and everyone loves to have a runner for it, and it's a credit to the local track in Tralee and all the sponsors that are involved, but it draws the best dogs every year.
Yeah, it'd be remiss of me not to mention a couple of other dogs that aren't quite in your care, but for many, many years you're more of a breeding kennel than you are a racing kennel. I still say you're more of a breeding kennel, but you're not doing too bad at the racing side of things. You, of course, bred the Oaks champion, Ballymac Beanie. She's turned out to be a real star. I dare say they had to do a bit of arm twisting to get her off you.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, we always try to bring new people into the game, and I suppose when somebody high profile comes in and wants to buy a dog, it's for the betterment of the game. And I suppose the lads approached us, and they were humming and hawing for a while, and it was coming and going. And I said they didn't really know what they wanted themselves for a while, but in the end, look, they decided they wanted a bitch. They actually bought a bitch off of Ballymac Taz as well. So we're delighted when we sell a doggy. We're delighted to see anyone do well with them. They put down their money, and they're more than welcome, and we're delighted to see. We wish them the best of luck and hope they do as good as possible with the dogs. And it was great to see Beanie, even though we were in the final with two, but she was the class bitch of that competition, and she thoroughly deserved the win. Look, come here. You have to sell a few, Ian. We wouldn't be able to keep going if we didn't sell a few. So look, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, another one we have to mention, Pastana, first Greyhound ever to break the 29-second barrier at Shelburne Park for 5:50, one of the undoubted stars of the year. A sensational run that night, and we all know what happened in the Derby final, but obviously, proud of his achievements as his breeder.
Absolutely. Look, as a breeder, they're the dogs you only dream of breeding, and I suppose when you see them, you're filled with pride. And I suppose it was unfortunate what happened to him, but I suppose between Desi and Owen and all the lads that looked after him, they did a fantastic job. All the videos we've seen them all, they're a credit to the dog. The dog is unbelievable, the recovery he made, and I think he's busy at Stud and Dunphy's as well. So it's brilliant, and I suppose he won the Champion Stakes as a puppy, and he was in with real old heads, and he was a fantastic dog. And I suppose probably again an unlucky dog in the Derby, but there's going to be 5 unlucky dogs. Our fellas are going to claim they're unlucky, and there's always going to be a great winner, and we had a great winner. So look, it's brilliant to breed these kind of dogs, and hopefully we can continue.
Yeah, indeed. Don't go away. We have a couple of awkward questions yet to come. We're not letting you off the hook yet, because 2021, I dare say you're eyeing some big prizes. We'll move on though to Simon Taylor, because each year the pinnacle of our racing year is the Irish Derby, and each year you hope that it's won by a superstar, and by God it was. Newinn Taylor was an absolute true superstar. He retired with a record nearly unmatched. He had only suffered I'm going to claim 2 defeats. I'm not going to claim 3 defeats, because I don't claim his last victory or his last defeat as a defeat. Newinn Taylor was a special greyhound. He always looked a special greyhound, Simon, from the early days, but to win as much as he did in such a short space of time probably even took you back a bit.
Yes and no, really. Yeah, I mean, the first race was a big surprise. That's the one that's actually missing from IGB if you go to look it up, because I think the first race, the hare failed, I think, so the dogs were in, and then the hare failed. So the race they're showing on IGB is it failing. But funny enough, I was actually in Amsterdam at the time watching the PDC darts. I think Snakebite Right was there, and I was there with my kids, and we watched it on Barking Buzz. So I've got it recorded on my phone, the proper one. And after that race, he was up against Night Rocker and dogs which got to the Derby quarterfinal, the year before. And that's his first ever race. So for him to win that, from then, I knew he must have been good.
Yeah, I remember that night in question, and just the immediate acceleration he showed was just wow. This is a greyhound. Like, where can this fellow go? Because we didn't know obviously how well he'd been schooled or what he was showing at home. Obviously, you had a better idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, I very rarely bet on my own dogs, and to watch the race on Barking Buzz, you've got to have a bet, haven't you? I think it was 5-1 that day, and I had a little bet on him just so I could watch the race, and so he obviously wasn't fancied at all. But I know out of the litter, he was the fastest one out of the litter, according to the breeder, and that's that.
The breeder wasn't lying to you. I can promise you that.
Yes, no, exactly, yeah. And yeah, so from then on, what was the competition next? It was the old Comerford Cakes, Shelbourne Open 5, Puppy 525. And then each round he'd done the same thing, except in the final, really. I think Ballymacin speed pinged, and that was a very, very tight finish in the end.
Yeah, he just did improve, which was hard to believe because he had started at such a high level. He came back this year, and it was a case of, right, where did we go? You sponsored a little competition in Limerick. It was the perfect sort of pipe opener for him, and by all accounts, he looked as good as ever. And then you decided to go to the Produce Stakes. So, like, obviously, it's not just the Derby we have to talk about the Produce Stakes, and remained unbeaten going into the Produce Stakes, and that was the way he was to remain through the competition. He was the undoubted star of the competition, along with your other dog, Newinn Session.
Yes, yeah. I think Session went 6 straight wins before I think he lost his 7th, and Taylor maybe had been about 10 or 11 at that time, and people were asking me, you know, if they both get to the final or they both meet in whatever round it can be, who do you want to win? And of course it's like picking at your children, but really, because Taylor was the one who was there first and was slightly ahead, I would have always been edging a bit more for him.
Plus the early speed, of course, of Taylor. They were drawn in opposite semi-finals. It looked for all the world that they were going to meet in the final, but I'm afraid Session missed the kick, didn't get involved in the race, didn't have a chance to get involved in the race, and I suppose it left you in a position in the final where you could just go screaming for the one dog.
Well, I think in the race before, it must have been the quarterfinal. Session, I think he potentially has broke the track record for the fastest split time. I think it was quicker than what Claire's Rocket did. So it was a very fast time he did. But yeah, the final, and again, it was a great final. Again, I was there, lucky enough. I think the lockdown had been slightly eased, so 50 people could come and watch, might have been more. And Jack Solution, I think it was, Jack Solution.
Yeah, Peter Cronin's dog took an absolute flyer from it was probably the first time Newinn Taylor has ever been led into the bend. He sort of took him on the corner, but it was the first time he'd ever been actually led.
Yeah, and of course, you know, if you've been in dogs for a while, quite often you can win every round and get to the final and lose, and I've been there before. So, yeah, I was never feeling confident at all, but I wasn't feeling unlucky either. It's just, you know, it is what it is, and let's see what happens. And as it happened, it all went to plan. That was obviously brilliant. I think it was 12 straight wins.
It sure did. So he came to Shelbourne Park after winning the Produce Stakes, after winning the Comerford Cakes, after winning the Salachi Legal 525 at Limerick. He was now 3 from 3 in terms of competitions. Let's go for the 4th. The step up to 550 yards into the Derby. Obviously, he got beaten in the first round, but you can forgive him for that. But he lost his unbeaten tag. I suppose, in a way, it was nearly a relief to lose it.
Yes, it was. And it's the first time he'd ever been in the 550 boxes. So he was starting somewhere where he hadn't been before. And as you know, it's just about qualifying. But of course, you are a little bit gutted when it's gone, but it's probably a relief for the trainer. And it is a bit of a relief for me as well. And after that, if that's the way it goes, he didn't lose. He qualified the first round, qualified the second round, and won every race thereafter.
Yeah, the second round in particular is the one that's got the most chat, because in defeat, he probably showed more pace than any Greyhound did through the Derby. Showing the speed to actually close and Pastana into the opening corner was pretty stunning in itself. And then to stay with him all the way to the third bend and in only a second 550, he was only beaten, 3.5 lengths in that record-breaking run. You knew that night that this was a dog with serious Derby claims. Yeah,
I was watching him last night. You know, my favourite races of his to watch are the one at Limerick, Salachi Legal final. I like that one. And I like the quarter-final of the Derby and the semi-final of the Derby. I don't particularly like the Derby final because the Pastana got injured, and it's just, I like the clean performance of the semi-final best of all. And just that's it really. Yeah,
he was a dog, like, despite the fact that he had plenty of races under his belt at that point, he did really, like, his natural rate of progression through the Derby was pretty stunning, you know, culminating in that semi-final run.
I remember, you asking me, wasn't it, when we done a sort of interview before, are you confident? I wasn't confident, but the way it was going, it's the way you're supposed to, you know, qualify, peak and peak. And where Pastana had done his amazing record-breaking run, I can't remember, was it the second round? If it was me, you know, you sort of can get a bit concerned, are you peaking too early? But yeah, I think everything was on track for Taylor to do it, and he did, luckily.
Yeah, it was a strange sort of night, of course. You were one of the lucky few to be on track at Shelbourne Park to witness your own Greyhound winning an Irish Greyhound Derby. A surreal experience, but at the same time, an experience that'll stay with you for the rest of your days.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that the whole thing was the whole of 2020 has been very, very weird, and everything about Newinn Taylor has been good and weird all at the same time. The next day, we went to Golden to the kennels to have our photos with the dog and stuff like that. And the breeder says maybe we should do this next. And Graham, the trainer, says if it was him and he owned the dog, he would run him in the Night of the Stars if it did go ahead, and then retire him to stud. He said, but as a trainer, I want to train the best dogs, and I'd rather him keep racing. So I had that to think about, and I never really made my mind up, but I did know really I want to keep him racing. And as it happened, he only had one more race, and it would have been the Night of the Stars if it wasn't changed for the Winter Festival, and that was that. And even then, it's, you know, he still goes out at the top because I think he was going to win that last race.
Well, he was gone 4 clear. He was about to go about 8 clear, I think, just the way he was moving at that stage. As I said, I don't put it down as a defeat. I just put it down as an end to one career, because he will breed a few bitches, and by all accounts, if he produces something like himself, he's going to be a successful stud dog.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah, we've got a couple of options at the moment. He did go back to the vets just before Christmas. He used to go back every week since the Derby for checkups, and they took the cast off and stuff like that. And a bit of a screw head was just showing through, so they had to do another operation. He stayed in for a week, and he's all fine now. He's back at Riverside Kennels, and he's not going to be 100%, I don't think, for a good few weeks. Then he's going to do some tests, etc., for breeding, and then there'll be a choice of where he'll go. And there's a couple of options, including staying at Riverside Kennels where he likes.
Yeah, by all accounts, Nikki and Rachel and all the gang down at Riverside, they're very good at the old social media. I've seen more pictures of Newinn Taylor in the last few weeks than I've nearly seen my kids.
Yes, yeah. I mean, they love him. They definitely want to keep him there. But I also want to do what's right for the dog, which is right for his career and everything like that. So, you know, I'm swayed to keep him there, but let's just wait and see.
Yeah, normally a man loses a greyhound like a Newinn Taylor, and you go, wow, you struggle to find another one like him. But in Newinn session, you have a greyhound that has a very high ceiling. You know, there's nowhere this dog really couldn't go. You just want him to find consistency.
Oh yeah. He's definitely top class as well. And I think it was his race, maybe the one before the Winter Festival, where it was 550 with Broadstrand Bono, and Broadstrand Bono would have been a dog I'd love to own as well. And I thought this is going to be tough. But it was a tough race, but Session, you know, won it.
He just grounded out from the front that night. I remember it. Yeah,
that was really good. Then the Winter Festival, his first 600. That only come up. I think Graham called me and asked me if, you know, I wanted to put him in for it. And you all have limited options. He had, you know, Lenz and Bocco. Was it Bocco in the 575?
Yeah.
There's only so many races, so you can't have everyone in the 550. So,
yeah, he ran well in that 600. He actually missed the kick, and Kingdom got an absolute flyer. And I think that was the winning and the losing of the race.
Yes, yeah. But then again for that night, I was asked, I could have got some kennel ticket, you know, because it was all behind closed doors. And I wasn't sure if I was going to go or not. There's a couple of things going on, and about 8 o'clock I text Graham saying that if there's still one going, I'll come. And because I was in Dublin at the time, and luckily he never saw the text or didn't text me back, because I wouldn't want to have been there when Taylor got injured. So
yeah,
all in disguise, really.
Yeah, a blessing in disguise. Right, lads, we're going to bring you all back in here now. We're going to finish this off, but we have to ask you about the future. Like, we're here at the start of 2021. Michael, firstly, we'll mention yourself. I don't know. Do you have any more stars coming up? Do any pups coming through? Any race dogs ready to go?
I'm not sure either, to be honest. I don't think we have a wolf or a Sonic lying around the place, but we're still searching. We've some nice pups coming up. You know, we've some saplings off Gillingo, obviously Wolf's mother, and they're looking pretty good. We've a young dog called Crew Storm actually off Gillingo. He looks pretty decent. How decent though, I'm not sure. It's still early days, but we've a dog who won actually in Shelburne on Saturday night called Sizzler. He won a 575 there. He's a very fast dog. If I could change one thing about him, I'd make him a railer, because he's very wide, and he runs the bends very wide, which it costs him a lot of ground. But he's a very fast dog. But yeah, we've I'm not sure about the real good dog. We have a lot coming up, and you know, we do all over it, all, and anyone that's good goes up to, and we'll continue to do that. Hopefully there'll be one or two more of them going up this year. but I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
we certainly hope that they're like the buses, as they say, that two classics come along in quick
Yeah,
succession,
yeah.
and maybe the dog you're after mentioning, or maybe one of the youngsters coming through, will win
Yeah.
a classic for you very shortly. Listen, Michael, thanks very much for chatting to us. Simon, you obviously have some very fast ones. You think coming on? I asked the Twitter world the other day about dogs to look forward to in 2021, and you made Newinn TikTok twice. I looked him up. He's out of a half sister to Newinn Taylor. I then spoke to Graham, and he says he's very good. He's galloping alongside some very good dogs, but he's yet to be around the track.
Well, TikTok is out of
Boodles.
Boodles and Sydney, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, apparently that this is the fastest pup around Donoskia ever the breeder's ever had, and beats everything else same age. You know, the other this is just easily jogging up the gallop. So I'm quite excited to see him. I did buy another one, which was Patsy Sabbath and Expert, which would be a half sister to Newinn Taylor. There was only two in the litter, a dog and a bitch. Went to watch them at Donoskia, and there was another bitch trial in there which wasn't for sale, called Newinn Lisa, and she beat them both or done quicker time. So because she wasn't for sale, that means that must be the best one. So I've done a deal with Jim to also buy that one. So Newinn Lisa, Newinn TikTok would be good.
I have to say, I was doing a bit of trolling, and when I saw something a trial against Newinn Lisa, I just clicked into her, and I see she has a 16-15 in Clonmel. Nothing to be sniffed at.
No, well, she was going to be going for the unraced stakes at Clonmel around February time, and she ran too fast for that. So now she can't go in that. So I think she'll be going to Newbridge. And the other ones I'm excited about is there's a repeat mating of Droopers Buick and Newinn Expert. So they'll be full brothers to Newinn Taylor. I think there's 5 bitches and 1 dog. So I bought the dog and 1 bitch. The dog doesn't have a name yet because we need to check that he's going to be extra fast. If he's extra fast, he might be known as Taylor 2. And there was one, the bitch I picked because she was blue and I like blue dogs, and her name's going to be Newinn Nifty. But by all accounts, she's only 8 months old and she's doing really good. So I think Newinn Nifty, Taylor 2 potentially, TikTok, and Lisa should all hopefully be.
So what you're saying is, when we're doing this review of 2021 in a year's time, I could be talking to you again as a classic winning owner, or that's the aim.
Well, you don't know, this is the most exciting time. Even with Taylor in Session, it's just a wondering how good they are. Once you know, because even now we know how good Session is. You know, he's not going to really improve. It's the not knowing. You know, even when you go, if you deal with people you haven't dealt with before. Shane was talking about the people who bought Beanie. Half of you, sort of thinking, oh, these people dodge. You know, am I getting conned? If this one's so fast, why do they not keep it for themselves? And when it all turns out to be true, it's actually really good. And of course, sometimes things don't turn out that way. It doesn't mean the people were not being truthful. It's just the way it goes.
He's not accusing Shane of being dodgy. We're just going to put that out there.
Well, no. This is
although I have probably in the past.
No. This is what This is what it's like, isn't it? There's no telling with dogs, really. Dogs and children, who knows what's going to happen. But it's good when it all comes, it works out, because then you've got a good relationship with the people and everyone can be trusted. And it's good.
Yeah, it's a sport built on relationships, no question about that. Shane Dowling, I know I'm going to ask you for a few to look forward to in 2021. There's obviously 1 or 2 that people already know about. How's Ariel? Firstly, she's slightly injured at the moment. She'll be back soon.
Yeah, she's okay. And nothing major, I don't think. She's just on the easy list now. She had a busy enough couple of weeks, so she's resting at the moment. She'll be fine, hopefully, and we'll probably sit down, have a talk, and see where we're going to go. Probably the Kirby probably be the obvious option, and sure, we'll see after that, all depending on her season and stuff like that. And the Kirby and the Oaks probably be her main targets, but sure, she could probably take in a few more on the way as well.
Yeah, you're never shy about running them. What else do we have to look out for? Obviously, Cash Out is showing plenty of promise. He's a greyhound really to look forward to. The fact that Liam suggests he could possibly be a successor to Anton was enough for me. Anything else that jumps out at us? Luckily we're kind of schooling a few pups at the moment, but we'd always kind of look towards Tralee and how we'd always try to keep a couple of prime a few for there. We've a brother of Ariel's. He looks a nice dog. He's very big. He's probably going to take a bit of time, and he's called Ballymac Runner. He looks a nice dog, but I suppose you have to go on and do it in races and stuff like that. He had a setback there, so we know he can sprint and stuff like that, so hopefully he can stay on a little bit. And
he's very big. Tralee's probably not going to be his track, but sure, we'll start them off there and see. And there's a couple of other pups as well. They qualified back there Monday, but a few of them were disappointing. So we'll have to regroup and see where we're going after that. But Tralee would be always a kind of a guide for us, and there should be a couple of nice pups on the way, hopefully.
Shane, just as a matter of interest, how many active brood bitches do you have down there at the moment?
I'd say probably between 15 and 20, and I'd say.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And probably the slowest was probably a 28-30 bitch.
Go on, no, not at all.
Listen, lads, it's great to talk to you. Congratulations again on a wonderful 2020, and hopefully more success in 2021. I know one or two of you have the firepower. Michael, we're hoping you're going to find one or two that'll get you up to Shelburne Park in September. Otherwise, have a great year, plenty winners. And again, folks, stay safe, and we'll see you very shortly indeed. Well, folks, that's it. Our continued review of 2020. We'll have more in the coming days and weeks. So please keep abreast of all that's happening here on Talking Dogs.